Empowering the tokenized revolution. Tune in to Token Money Magnet, only on WION.
Good morning, Asia. Good evening, America. You are watching World DNA with me, Jyotsna Kumar.
And I'm Hem Korsara, and on the show today, the multi-party delegations will be heading to foreign capitals today. This visit by 7 delegations to 32 countries is part of the government's diplomatic push. It's aimed at galvanizing international support against Pakistan's state-sponsored terrorism. We'll bring you all the details on this and more on the show today.
Also on the show, U.S. President Donald Trump has unveiled new details on his plan for a Golden Dome missile shield system to protect the country against attacks, saying it should be operational in about 3 years. The president announced $225 billion in initial funding for the plan, which he said could eventually cost a total of some $175 billion. We'll get to the latest on that story. Let's begin with the headlines.
European Union decides to review the bloc's cooperation deal with Israel, and Britain suspends trade talks to increase pressure over its intensified offensive in Gaza. Israel says decision reflects a total misunderstanding of reality.
Hamas claims no serious negotiations over a ceasefire in Gaza have taken place since the weekend. Israel recalls high-level members of Israel's negotiating team, but some representatives will remain in Doha.
U.S. President Donald Trump unveils plans for a Golden Dome missile shield system, saying it should be operational by the end of his second term.
China says it is willing to engage in dialogue with Taiwan, but with conditions, after the island leader, Lai Ching-te, said there was room for communication with China.
India's diplomatic outreach following Operation Sindoor begins today, with first of the 7 all-party delegations departing for the United Arab Emirates.
Fierce thunderstorm knocked out power across the U.S. states. More than 75,000 homes affected by severe storms in Kansas and Missouri.
U.S. futures dipped slightly after Wall Street's rally stalled. The S&P 500 snapped a 6-day win streak, falling 0.39%, with tech stocks leading the decline. Nvidia and Apple and Microsoft all closed lower.
Indian writer Banu Mushtaq wins the International Booker Prize for her short story collection, Heart Lamb, first author of Kannada literature to receive the prestigious literary award.
The Argentine court suspends Diego Maradona death trial over judges' impartiality concerns. Defense raises alarm over judges' role in the documentary alleging bias and misconduct.
India's diplomatic outreach following Operation Sindoor begins today.
This with the first of the 7 all-party delegations departing for the United Arab Emirates. The 7 delegations of 59 members, including 31 political leaders from the ruling National Democratic Alliance and 20 politicians from other parties. These delegations will be led by the Bharatiya Janata Party lawmakers Bijayan Jay Panda and Ravi Shankar Prasad, Congress MP Shashi Tharoor, Janata Dal United leader Sanjay Jha, Shiv Sena's Shrikant Shinde, DMK leader Kanimori and NCP leader Supriya Sule.
The delegation that departs today for UAE will be led by Shiv Sena's Shrikant Eknath Shinde. The team will also be visiting Congo, Sierra Leone and Liberia. It will be armed with a dossier highlighting Pakistan's decades-long promotion of terrorism and New Delhi's new normal in tackling cross-border terror after Operation Sindoor. The remaining 6 delegations will embark on their journeys over the next 4 days until May 25th.
The list of delegates also includes several former ministers across party lines. These include Ghulam Nabi Azad, MJ Akbar, Salman Khurshid, SS Ahluwalia, V. Muralidharan and Anand Sharma. Sharma is the only name added to the list that was recommended by the Congress party.
And this comes while India continues its crackdown on terror networks, with authorities in Jammu and Kashmir attaching properties belonging to 3 Pakistan-based terror handlers. They have been identified as Arshad Ahmad Teli, Firdoos Ahmad and Nazir Ahmad Dar. The property attachment is linked to an FIR registered at Supor police station.
Now, India thwarted Pakistan-sponsored terrorism in its Operation Sindoor.
Now, the operation, one of its kind, saw unmatched coordination between the Indian Armed Forces, Navy and the Air Force. One of the most intense shelling was witnessed along the LOC. Now, WION Sidhan Sibal visited the front lines where Indian Armed Forces still remain vigilant and fight tooth and nail to protect India. Here's a report.
From a strategic location at the LOC, WION witnesses the might of the Indian artillery units. Military personnel are engaged in artillery demonstrations. They are always prepared to face any threat from across the border.
The recent drill which you just saw, it was a drill in which we engaged the enemy targets. As part of the Op Sindoor, we had used the same drills which we had practiced before, and during the operation we put it into effect to target the enemy launch pads in the Lipa and the Neelam Valley. As you are aware, there were clear aim to engage the enemy terrorist infrastructure, and the same was done accurately by the artillery of this formation.
In the aftermath of the ceasefire violation by the Pakistani side, this is the location, in fact, one of the locations from which the Indian side was able to thwart the Pakistani attempts and give a strong response to the Pakistani side. And these are the weapons, as you can see behind me, which played an important role in terms of giving a strong response to the Pakistani side.
At India's fortified military post, India's air defense systems remain vigilant. Pakistan reportedly fired over 600 drones at India during Operation Sindoor, all of which were neutralized by India's defenses.
Behind me you can see the air defense system, which played an important role in terms of thwarting the Pakistani misadventure. I am standing at one of the forward posts, and we know that this forward post played an important role in Operation Sindoor, under which India targeted terror camps in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and Pakistan itself. Now, this mountain range behind me is critical and important. Beyond this is Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, and we know that once the Pakistani side indulged in ceasefire violation and were attacking India. India was able to thwart that, and these forward location, the forward posts which are located at the line of control, played an important role in thwarting the Pakistani misadventure.
See, the army air defense is on all toes like 24/7, and we are all ready. If something happens, we are all of us are alert. And if something happens, then the Akash Tir system, again, it's one of the greatest invention by the India itself now, and it has been seriously helping us to reduce our reaction time and keep us all alert all the time. It will be providing us the situation picture of all around the surroundings, and then be helping us a lot to engage the target effectively.
From the front lines behind the mountainous terrain lies the POK. WION saw the strategic hub that decimated a Pakistani border post.
I'm standing at one of the forward posts of the Indian Army at the line of control, and behind me is the air defense gun. Now, this air defense gun played an important role in thwarting the Pakistani misadventures, which includes the drone attack by the Pakistanis. Now, beyond this place is Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, where we know that the Indian side was able to neutralize the terror camps, but it is also the location from where the drone attacks were done into Kashmir as well. So this machine, I would say, played an important role in thwarting and safeguarding the valley and, of course, the country as well. We know that there is a fragile ceasefire understanding that continues, but balls in the court of the Pakistani side that if they will stand by the agreement. But all in all, on the ground, the situation is stable, primarily because of the grit and determination of the Indian Army.
India's multi-pronged response, artillery, air defense and border operations has sent a clear message. Every violation will face overwhelming retaliation. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And while European countries have ramped up pressure on Israel to abandon its expanded military offensive and allow more aid into war-torn Gaza.
This a day after the UK, France and Canada threatened Israel with targeted sanctions. Israel's biggest trading partner, the European Union, has announced that the bloc would review its trade agreement with Israel, calling the situation in Gaza as untenable. EU Foreign Affairs Chief Kaja Kallas said that the move was backed by a majority of the foreign ministers of the 27 member states.
Now, a spokesperson for the Israeli Foreign Ministry rejected the EU's decision and accused it of misunderstanding the complex reality that Israel is facing. It called on the EU to exert pressure on Hamas instead. Britain too ramped up pressure on Israel as Foreign Secretary David Lammy announced the suspension of negotiations for a free trade agreement with Israel. In an impassioned speech, the British Parliament, Lammy slammed Israel's Gaza offensive as morally unjustifiable and wholly disproportionate. David Lammy also condemned statements from the Israeli cabinet ministries about cleansing Gaza and called the remarks extremist, dangerous, and monstrous.
Netanyahu's government is planning to drive Gazans from their homes into a corner of the strip to the south and permit them a fraction of the aid that they need. Yesterday, Minister Smodrik even spoke of Israeli forces cleansing Gaza. Destroying what's left of residents, Palestinians, being relocated, he said, to third countries. We must call this what it is. It is extremism. It is dangerous. It is repellent. It is monstrous, and I condemn it in the strongest possible terms.
The UK Foreign Secretary also announced sanctions against 3 individuals and 4 organizations involved in expanding settlements in the occupied West Bank.
Today we are therefore imposing sanctions on a further 3 individuals and 4 entities involved in the settler movement. I have seen for myself the consequences of settler violence, the fear of its victim, the impunity of its perpetrators. Today we are demonstrating again that we will continue to act against those who are carrying out heinous abuses of human rights.
Meanwhile, Gaza continues to be on the brink of starvation. A day after Israel allowed entry of basic aid into Gaza, it claimed that it had permitted 93 UN aid trucks into the enclave by Tuesday. But according to the UN, only 5 trucks of aid had reached Gaza, and aid workers had not been given permission to even distribute that token shipment.
UN Aid Chief Tom Fletcher has warned that 14,000 babies could die in Gaza in the next 48 hours if aid did not reach them in time. During the first phase of the ceasefire that ended in March, some 600 aid trucks entered Gaza each day. According to the United Nations, Gaza needs at least 500 trucks of aid and commercial goods every day. Now, Donald Trump has unveiled the plan for his Golden Dome to protect the country's skies.
The U.S. president claims the missile shield system should be operational before his current term ends. The president announced $25 billion in initial funding for the plan, which he said could eventually cost a total of some $175 billion. Trump said that he has officially selected architecture for the state-of-the-art system.
This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they are launched from space.
The president announced that U.S. Space Force General Michael Guilin will lead the effort. He claimed that Canada has also expressed interest in being part of it as they want to have protection as well.
I told you Canada wants to be a part of it, which be, fairly small expansion, but we'll work with them on pricing.
Golden Dome name stems from Israel's Iron Dome air defense system that has intercepted thousands of short-range rockets and other projectiles since it went into operation in 2011. The United States faces various missile threats from adversaries, though they differ significantly from the short-range weapons that Israel's Iron Dome is designed to counter.
And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. For more on this, let's listen to this.
President Donald Trump, alongside Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the Space Force Vice Chief, unveiled plans for a massive new defense initiative expected to be fully operational by the end of President Trump's term. The program, whose architecture Trump says he has selected, will receive $25 billion in initial funding from his big, beautiful bill and is projected to cost $175 billion over 3 years. Senators Jim Banks, Kevin Cramer, and Dan Sullivan were also present. Trump said that Canada has expressed interest in joining, calling it very productive. Among the questions is one thing: would Trump's Golden Dome be designed to protect every inch of U.S. territory, or would it focus on big cities only? We'll have to wait and see. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Well, in other news, U.S. President Donald Trump made a return to the Capitol Hill, and this in a critical push to unite a fractured Republican Party trying to salvage a sweeping tax cut bill.
This forms the core of his domestic agenda as well. President Trump met Republican lawmakers in a closed-door session, urging unity on a massive tax cut plan and expansion of his 2017 signature law. But factions within his own party remain divided, especially over Medicaid spending cuts and deductions for state and local taxes.
Now, Trump insisted that Republicans are tremendously unified, but hinted that any holdouts could face challenges in primary ahead of the midterm elections. The bill proposed to add new tax breaks on tips and overtime pay, which is one of the major poll promise of U.S. President during his presidential run.
I think we have unbelievable unity. I think we're going to get everything we want, and I think we're going to have a great victory, and this man has done a great job, and I think this was a tremendous session.
House Speaker Mike Johnson said Trump's visit was to get everyone in line, and Majority Whip Steve Scalise called Trump the closer, counting on him to sway skeptical members before a Thursday deadline.
The U.S. President's visit at the Capitol comes at a time when credit rating agency Moody's has stripped the U.S. of its top-tier rating. The Republican-controlled Congress has so far backed Trump's agenda without pushback, but Senate Republicans, including conservative Josh Hawley, are already showing reservations.
With the Memorial Day deadline looming, Trump's power to close deals in Washington is once again being put to the test, but whether he can deliver his big, beautiful budget is yet to be seen.
Now, our correspondent Susan Tsunami shared this report on the piece of news. Take a look.
President Donald Trump's sweeping One Big Beautiful Bill advanced out of the House Budget Committee in a tight 16-17 vote, marking major progress for his legislative agenda. The bill extends Trump-era tax cuts on the one hand, boosting border funding, including $25 billion for a new design initiative. It also proposes significant reforms to Medicaid and food assistance programs, eliminating those for illegals. But despite opposition from some Republican deficit hawks, President Trump is saying this is a victory. He says that the bill will fund projects up to $175 billion in defense programs and could be signed into law before summer. Susan Terpani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, on the Russia-Ukraine front, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said that he expects Moscow to present a Ukraine ceasefire outline within days.
Well, that will show if it is serious, he said. Now, as Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accuses Moscow of buying time. This after President Donald Trump spoke separately by telephone to Zelensky and Vladimir Putin after Russian and Ukrainian officials met in Istanbul on Friday for their first direct talks on the conflict in 3 years.
Now, Rubio said that Putin and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov indicated that they would present their own terms, maybe in a number of days, maybe this week.
So what we're expecting now, based on the president's phone conversation yesterday and my conversations over the weekend with Mr. Lavrov, is that at some point here fairly soon, maybe in a number of days, maybe this week, hopefully, the Russian side is going to present terms that they would want to see, just broad terms that would allow us to move towards a ceasefire. And that ceasefire would then allow us to enter into detailed negotiations to bring about an end to the conflict.
The U.S. Secretary of State further said that the presentation will tell us a lot about their true intentions, in his words. Now, Putin, after Trump's call, had said he was ready to work with Ukraine on a memorandum outlining a possible roadmap and different positions on ending the war. He has consistently rejected proposals for a 30-day truce put forward by Kyiv and its Western allies.
At a Senate hearing, Rubio denied suggestions by Senate Democrats that Putin is playing for time and delaying progress in negotiations with Ukraine. Rubio insisted to critical lawmakers that Putin hasn't gotten a single concession from Trump.
Now, furthermore, Zelensky accused Russia of trying to buy time in order to continue its war and occupation.
It is Moscow that is dragging out the war. That's why Russian oil, the tanker fleet, their entire energy infrastructure that finances the war, all their banks, all their financial schemes, Russia's military industry, all of these should be targets for sanctions. We discussed with Ursula von der Leyen the next sanctions steps, the steps of Europe.
Meanwhile, European Union and Britain announced new sanctions against Russia on Tuesday. without waiting for Washington to join them. New measures will zero in on Moscow's shadow fleet of oil tankers and financial firms that have helped it avoid the impact of other sanctions imposed over the war.
Now, on the other hand, top finance leaders from the G7 group of nations gathered in Canada for talks. With the war in Ukraine and economic turmoil unleashed by Trump's tariffs at the top of their minds, Canadian Finance Minister François Philippe has said that Ukraine's presence in the meeting sends a strong message to the world that members are recommitting to support the country against Russia's invasion.
And I think it is very telling to the world that we have our Ukrainian friend with us for the G7 summit. You know, it sends a strong message to the world that we are, all of us, recommitting to support Ukraine. We're going to hold Russia to account. And we're also going to talk about what we're going to be doing in terms of reconstruction.
And with that, it's time now for a short break.
But don't go anywhere. We have more on the other side of World DNA, starting with Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te who has said that Taiwan is willing to engage with China, but only as equals and with dignity. In his speech, he called peace priceless, but added that one cannot have illusions as he vowed to strengthen defense. We'll get you more on that story on the other side.
The Indian government has launched new E0 FIR system. The government has said that the aim is to speed up cybercrime-related probes. More details on the other side.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Welcome back. You're watching Beyond World is One, and this is World DNA with me, Joseph Kumar, and my colleague Kim Corsoya. More up on this side, but we begin with the headlines.
Russia claims to hit the boot camp of Ukrainian special forces in Sumy with Iskander missile. Says at least 70 troops, including 20 instructors, killed.
European Union decides to review the bloc's cooperation deal with Israel, and Britain suspends trade talks to increase pressure over its intensified offensive in Gaza. Israel says decision reflects a total misunderstanding of reality.
U.S. media report says new intelligence obtained by the United States suggests that Israel is making preparations to strike Iranian nuclear facilities.
Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world, and even if they're launched from space.
U.S. President Donald Trump unveils plans for a Golden Dome missile shield system, saying it should be operational by the end of his second term.
India's diplomatic outreach following Operation Sindoor begins today, with the first of all all-party delegations departing for the United Arab Emirates.
First thunderstorm knocks out power across states in the U.S. More than 75,000 homes affected by severe storms in Kansas and Missouri.
Indian writer Banu Mushtaq wins the International Booker Prize for a short story collection, Heart Lamb, first author of Kannada literature to receive the prestigious literary award.
Asia-Pacific markets rose despite Wall Street's pullback. Japan, South Korea, and Australia saw gains, while Hong Kong futures dipped slightly.
Argentine court suspends Diego Maradona death trial over judge's impartiality concerns. Defense raises alarm over judge's role in the documentary, alleging bias and misconduct.
Startling details have emerged in the ongoing investigation into Pakistan espionage network.
And in the eye of the storm is Pakistani official Danish. He was employed with the Pakistan High Commission in New Delhi. Let's first tell you about the visa bribery trial. This visa bribery trail, under the scanner of the Indian agencies. Inside details of the investigation so far reveal Danish was taking bribes of about 5,000 rupees to speed up visa applications to begin with.
Now, however, Danish did not collect the money directly. Instead, he used another person, that is Yamin Mohammed, as his henchman to handle it. Yamin would find people who were applying for visas at the High Commission and would tell them that their visa would be processed faster but for a price. Yamin then passed on the money to Danish or handled it as Danish told him to.
One of the key suspects in the visa bribery and espionage case is a woman named Gaza, who was arrested from Punjab. Ghazala's connection to Pakistan came under scrutiny after intelligence agencies intercepted communications linking her to Danish. Her passport and visa documents, now in the possession of investigators, show the official seal and signature of Tariq Javed, visa attaché at the High Commission of Pakistan in New Delhi. She travelled to Pakistan twice in February and then in March.
The mobile communication records show that Danish was in frequent contact with 3 individuals, Ghazala, Yaman, and an Indian citizen named Jyoti. Now, these exchanges reportedly happened over WhatsApp, Snapchat, and regular voice calls. Sources tell WION that the calls were made using a mobile number ending in 8939, which is registered to the Pakistan High Commission. Now, this detail has become a crucial piece of evidence, further making it a watertight case against Danish and other accused.
All right, let's shift our focus for now. China says that it is ready to engage in dialogue with Taiwan, but on the basis of the One China principle.
And that's a stance that positions the self-governing island as an inseparable part of China. It slammed Taiwanese president for his separatist position and for seeking independence.
On Tuesday, while marking his first year in office, Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te said that Taiwan was willing to engage with China, but only as equals and with dignity. In his speech, he called peace priceless, but added that Taiwan cannot have illusions and vowed to strengthen its defense.
His remarks come against a backdrop of rising military pressure from Beijing, which has staged repeated large-scale drills around the island. On Monday, Taiwanese Coast Guard personnel arrested 2 Chinese nationals for attempting to sneak onto an island in the Taiwan-administered Kinmen Archipelago, several kilometers off China's mainland.
On the economic front, Lai emphasized Taiwan's need to diversify, adding that the island would increase its economic resilience by diversifying markets and boosting domestic demand. He announced plans to set up a sovereign wealth fund to boost Taiwan's economic momentum.
Now, China claims Taiwan is a part of its territory and not a separate country, and has threatened to use force to annex it. It has held several rounds of large-scale military drills around the island since Lai took office. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, is intensifying its demand for national elections by December.
Party leaders assert that interim government that's led by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus has ample time to implement all necessary reforms and prepare for the polls within this time frame.
Now, BNP Secretary General Mirza Fakhrul Islam Alamgir warned that delays beyond December could trigger deeper political unrest. He also called on the government to set a clear timeline, a message echoed by leaders from the broader 12-party alliance, which backs the BNP.
Several opposition leaders have urged the interim government to announce a roadmap without delay. They've sought the government to clear the obstacles preventing BNP and bringing home exiled acting chairman Tariq Rahman. However, the interim government's position remains flexible, with Chief Advisor Yunus indicating that elections could be held between December and June next year, depending on the completion of reforms.
Remember, last week, then Bangladesh Election Commission has officially suspended the registration of Awami League. Yunus-led interim government said the ban was imposed in light of an ongoing trial against the party over its alleged involvement in the deaths of more than 1,000 people during last year's uprising. In the absence of Awami League, the main challenger to Khaleda Zia's Bangladesh National Party will be students-led National Citizen Party, that is NCP. As the political landscape in Bangladesh continues to evolve, all eyes are on the interim government's move and the BNP's efforts to ensure timely elections. Well, boasting about getting free rice has cost a minister in Japan his job.
We're talking about Farm Minister Takui Ito, who had to resign after saying that he never buys rice because he gets it for free, a remark that drew public ire in a country facing soaring food prices.
Now, Thakur told reporters on Wednesday that he has submitted his resignation to Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. The Prime Minister had reprimanded Ito a day earlier, giving him very tough words, but indicating he would be allowed to remain on the job. But on Wednesday, the Foreign Minister said he had offered his resignation and Ishiba accepted it.
Addressing a gathering last weekend, Ito had said, and I'm quoting here, "I have never bought rice because my supporters donate so much to me that I can practically sell." Ito's comments hit a nerve in a nation where the price of the much-loved grain has nearly doubled year on year. Earlier, he had apologized for the comments, saying he had misspoken and may have exaggerated to please the crowd.
Now, Ito said that he had incurred the wrath of his wife as well, saying that she told him that she does go buy rice when a stockpile of donated rice runs out. Factors behind Japan's rice shortfall include poor harvest due to hot weather in 2023 and panic buying prompted a mega quake warning last year. Japan's government has released some of its emergency stockpile of the grain in recent months.
And a powerful mega tsunami could threaten large parts of the U.S.
Now, researchers have estimated that there is a 15% chance of an earthquake greater than magnitude 8.0 hitting in the next 5 decades. Now, here's a report.
Something stirs beneath the surface. The ocean, vast and ancient, hides secrets that could rewrite the fate of entire nations. Along the rugged coasts of Alaska, the volcanic cliffs of Hawaii, and the bustling cities of America's west coast, a silent threat grows. It is patient, it is relentless. And when it comes, there will be no warning loud enough. No wall high enough. Imagine a wall of water taller than skyscrapers racing towards the shore with the speed of a jet. Imagine the roar, the chaos, the desperate scramble for safety. This is not the plot of a disaster movie. It's a scenario experts say could unfold in our lifetime. Fueled by shifting tectonic plates, melting glaciers, and the ever-changing face of our planet. New data, fresh warnings, and uneasy patterns point to something extraordinary and terrifying. The Cascadia subduction zone, stretching from California to British Columbia, is restless. The findings are part of a new study by Virginia Tech researchers published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The west coast of the US, California, Oregon, Washington, now under fresh threat. New warnings from seismologists and disaster specialists highlight the dangerous fault lines and collapsing volcanic cliffs in the Pacific that could trigger a catastrophe. Coastal populations are skyrocketing, preparedness is minimal, and public awareness is dangerously low. This is a ticking time bomb buried beneath the ocean floor. And when it detonates, it could change the map of America forever. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And the Indian government has launched a new E0 FIR system.
The government says the aim here is to speed up cybercrime-related probes. Under this new system, all cyber financial crime complaints valued at more than 10 lakh Indian rupees or $11,000 and registered through the 1930 helpline or the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal will automatically get converted into an FIR. Post which the E0 FIR will be immediately routed to the relevant territorial cybercrime police stations. Complainants will then have 3 days to visit the station and convert the zero FIR into a regular FIR.
India's Home Minister Amit Shah posted on social media X announcing the launch of the E0 FIR system. Shah in his post wrote, "The new system, which will drive investigations swiftly, cracking down on cyber criminals, will soon be extended to the entire nation." The Prime Minister Modi government is bolstering the cybersecurity grid to build a cyber-secure Bharat.
The E0 FIR system is currently in its trial phase and is only available in Delhi. The process of issuing FIRs electronically, regardless of territorial jurisdiction, will soon be implemented nationwide. All right, and as investor confidence in US assets weakens, global capital is steadily shifting towards emerging Asian markets.
Now, a downgrade in U.S. sovereign credit, soaring treasury yields, and fiscal concerns are pushing investors to look for more stable and growth-driven opportunities, and markets like India are stepping up to fill the gap.
Foreign investors have pumped about $2.7 billion into Indian equities in the first half of May alone. And this marks a sharp turnaround after investors sold billions worth of equities in the first 3 months of 2025. April was the turning point with the net purchases in the green. Analysts attribute this shift to improving domestic fundamentals, cooling inflation, and expectations of further rate cuts by the Monetary Policy Committee.
Now, a key driver behind the foreign inflows in SEBI's proposed reforms aimed at reviving global interest in Indian government bonds. The regulator has suggested easy KYC timelines, waiving trading and demat accounts requirements, and offering flexibility.
Experts see this as a strong signal aligning India's bond market with global norms. On equities, FI is placing their biggest bets on private banks, citing clean balance sheets, digital transformation, and room for valuation re-rating. India's inflow surge comes amid broader shifts in global capital flows as well.
Now, Moody's recently downgraded the U.S. sovereign rating, triggering a rise in 30-year treasury yields to the highest since November 2023. Meanwhile, China saw a net capital inflow of $17.3 billion in April, including $10.9 billion in bond investments. With the dollar weakening and U.S. fiscal deficit ballooning, analysts expect a structural move towards emerging markets like India, China, Korea, and Taiwan. And Japan's financial markets saw a surge of international investment in April.
This with foreign investors pouring a record amount into Japanese stocks and long-term bonds. The total inflow reached $56.6 billion, as per reports the highest ever recorded for a single month since data collection began in 1996.
Now, this rush of funds into Japan came at a time of global uncertainty. Investors moved away from U.S. assets, especially after unexpected trade moves by the U.S. government that led to increased tariffs and market volatility. In contrast, Japan offered a more stable environment, making it an attractive destination for global capital. Much of the money came from large institutions like pension funds and insurance companies rather than individual investors. Now, these big players turned to Japanese equities for growth and Japanese government bonds for safety, particularly as yields in the U.S. became more unpredictable.
Even though U.S. markets have begun to regain some stability through new trade deals, interest in Japanese assets remains strong. Analysts suggest that Japan's long-term potential is still attractive, thanks in part to ongoing corporate reforms aimed at improving returns of shareholders. These efforts have led to an increase in share buybacks, which can boost both earnings per share as well as stock prices.
Now, additionally, Japan's improving economy, rising stock market, and strong governance measures are encouraging more investors to view it as a viable alternative to U.S. assets. While future inflows may not match April's record, the outlook for Japanese investments remains positive, with global markets facing continued challenges. Japan appears to be carving out a more prominent role as a financial safe haven, and that trend may have staying power.
Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur clash in the Europa League final later this week. The winner walks away with the title, a ticket to the Champions League and a multi-million-dollar boost to their bank account.
Now, there is a potential $100 million windfall on the line. Both Manchester United and Tottenham have had disappointing domestic seasons, each languishing in the bottom half of the Premier League table. But a win in the Europa League final could turn it all around on the balance sheet, if not in the standings. The winner of the match in Bilbao could receive up to $70 million. But the real jackpot is what comes next.
Europa League champions will be guaranteed a spot in the next season's Champions League. This comes with an automatic $21 million payout from UEFA. Even teams that lose every game in the group stage have still banked up to $11 million in extra revenue through UEFA's broadcast distribution system. For clubs like United and Spurs, a Champions League run can easily push total earnings beyond $100 million. So it's not just about the trophy, it's about securing a financial future and a spot among Europe's best.
As a group, we always try to block out the noise. I think as a group we know the situation we're in, we know the league is not good enough and we haven't been good enough in that, but the Europa League is something that we look forward to as a final, and we want to win that final. It's a trophy, and it's Champions League football for next season. So, as I said, we'll do everything in our powers to win that game.
Well, John Krasinski and Natalie Portman brought the Fountain of Youth to the New York for the film's world premiere.
In the film, the pair partner on a global heist to look for the mythical place. More about the star-studded premiere in our next story.
This movie was an absolute blast. It was the easiest yes I've ever said. I would have done anything for Guy Ritchie, and to find out that he wanted me to be a lead in a movie with Natalie Portman, easiest yes. And then to travel around the world and get to, shoot all this practically, it was just a blast.
When we think of a fountain of youth, we often think of the kind of cosmetic, superficial version of it that we want to kind of like look young forever. But I think that there's something more about finding that kernel of what gave you wonder in the world and what gave you excitement and what lit you up as a child, and finding that for the rest of your life. Fun to get to work with Guy Ritchie on a movie like this. He really has such a knack for that witty dialogue and the fast, incredible action sequences.